Okay, so good afternoon to everybody, and thanks to the project partners, and a special thanks to the stakeholders for being here and to share their experience on the topic with us. And thanks also for being part of the stakeholder committee. So today we have the first stakeholder workshop of the project IT4PQ. We have quite good number of presentation from the project partners, but also from stakeholders. This is the agenda that I sent to all of you. Just a little variation. I think to insert here after the presentation of the project partner a short break. So from 3:50 to 4 p.m. Just to have a short break to the workshop. So we can begin to the introduction. I present myself. I am Mario Luiso, and I am associate professor at University of Campania in Naples, Italy. And my main interests are measurement of electrical quantities and especially instrument transformers. So you can introduce yourself. Maybe I call from the list in the order I see. So Mark from Kema Labs.
Yes, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Mark Achterkamp. I'm working for Kema Laboratories in Arnhem, the Netherlands. Since last year, beginning of last year, we are part of the CESI group, the Italian CESI. I'm managing a group that is involved in type testing of energy meters, protection relays. And since that equipment, of course, also make use of instrument transformers, this topic is very important for me and my group, but also for other departments within Kema who are busy with doing type testing of instrument transformers themselves.
Thanks, Mark. So Aldo Capone from TND Elettronica.
Good afternoon. I am Aldo Capone and I'm CEO of TND Elettronica. Our core business is the production of customized lines, machine and equipment for non-destructive testing that are usually installed at the end of a production line, for example. So from our perspective, we are very interested in understanding the future accuracy requirements of ITs and also the methods to test them. And last but not least, we are at your disposal and we'll be glad to be able to give our contribution as useful for the project. Thanks.
Thanks, Aldo. Now, Elko van den Brom from VSL.
So hello everyone, my name is Helco van den Brom, as Mario said, from VSL, that's the Dutch National Metrology Institute. Personally, I'm working as a scientist on all electrical quantities, with a specific interest in power and energy, especially power quality phenomena. So thank you.
Thank you, Elko. Daniela Istrate from LNE.
Hello, good afternoon, everybody. I am a research engineer in low-frequency electrical metrology of LNE, which is the French National Metrology Institute, and my activities are situated in the field of high current generation and measurement. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniela. Daniele Palladini from RSE.
Hello, everybody. I'm working in RSC, Italy. I worked in the Transmission and Distribution Technology department. Our focus is the modeling of instrument transformer, and in particular, we are working on the algorithm for the compensation of nonlinearity of instrument transformer, and develop also a standalone merge unit where the algorithm will be implemented. And we have also accredited the calibration laboratory for the calibration of voltage and the current transformer up to 60 kilovolt and 6 kiloampere.
Thank you, Daniele. Enrico Mons from PTB.
Yeah, hello everybody. My name is Enrico Mons. I'm from the German National Metrology Institute, PTB. I'm the department leader of the electrical energy measuring techniques, and we are part of the project consortia by leading the work package 2 that is related to the reference measuring systems. Thank you.
Thank you, Enrico. Eric Sperling from Omicron.
Yes, hello everyone. So my name is Eric Sperling. I'm involved in high voltage instrument transformer technology since roughly 23 years. And in 2010, I jumped into the power quality aspects and especially designing RC dividers and low power instrument transformers to be able to transmit high frequency signals. And I'm very active in IC as well as in SIGRE, and I'm happy to be the convener in SIGRE A345 with a similar subject we have. So this is with the title Methods for Identification of Frequency Response Characteristic of Voltage Measurement Systems. So Paolo, I know Paolo since many, many years, so we are also very deeply active in Working Group 47 and so on. Thank you.
Thanks, Eric. Gabriella Crotti from INRIM.
Okay, sorry, I have a problem with my camera. Okay, I think. So, hello to everybody. I'm Gabriella Crotti from INRIM, which is the Italian National Metrology Institute. I'm the project coordinator, and of course, my activity deals with the characterization of high voltage current and voltage sensors. And I'm responsible in INRIM of the related measurement areas.
Thanks, Gabriella. Giovanni D'Avanzo from University of Campania.
Hi everyone, I am Giovanni D'Avanzo and I am a PhD student at Unicampania. My tutor is Professor Mario Luiso. I am focused on instrument transformer and electrically energy. Thank you.
Thank you, Giovanni. Giuliano Cipolletta, also from University of Campania.
Hi everyone, my name is Giuliano Cipolletta and I'm PhD student from University of Campania Luigi Vanvitelli, and my research field is focused on energy measurement and power quality monitoring in a railway system.
Thanks, Giuliano.
Thank you.
Jan Meyer from University of Dresden.
Yeah, hello everybody. My name is Jan Meyer. I'm with University of Technology in Dresden, and I'm with the chair of electrical power systems. There I'm the leader of the power quality research team, and our main focus is on distortion below and above 2 kilohertz, also including all the measurement aspects. We also did a lot already in this characterization of instrument transformers, and we are quite happy to be a part of the team working on that subject.
Thank you, Jan. Volker Leitloff from ICTC38 and from RTE.
Hello, my name is Volker Leitloff. I'm with RTE in France, the French TSO. I work in the field of power automation, protection and control systems, with a special interest in interfacing instrument transformers with these applications. So I'm the chair of a TC38 of IEC and also of CLC 38, and I represent in this function the stakeholder main stakeholder of IT for power quality. I'm also active in working group 37 and working group 47 of TC38.
Thanks, Volker. Sara Letizia from INRIM.
Hi everybody, I am Sara Letizia and I am a PhD candidate at INRIM, and my supervisor is Gabriella Crotti. My research topics are related to instrument transformers and voltage and current sensors in general.
Thanks, Sara. Lorenzo Peretto from University of Bologna.
Good morning to everybody. I don't know if you see me.
We see you. Thanks, Lorenzo.
Okay. My name is Lorenzo Peretto. I'm a professor of electrical electronic measurements at the University of Bologna, and I'm working in IT4PQ as a Bologna unit for performing some tasks, as Mario probably will say later. And today I will also, I'm very pleased to give you some information regarding what's cooking inside TC38 regarding measurement uncertainty.
Thanks, Lorenzo. Christian Mester from Metas. We do not hear you, Christian. You have to unmute.
Sorry, I was so focused on switching on the camera. Hello, my name is Christian Mester. I work for the Electrical Energy and Power Lab at Metas, and I have a short presentation later, so I'll spare you the details. We are stakeholders only because you know that bidding is limited and we could not take part as a partner, unfortunately, but doesn't mean I'm not interested.
Thanks, Christian. Now, Andrea Nalli from GNV Altea.
Okay, hello to everybody. My name is Andrea Nalli and I'm an R&D engineer in GNW Altea. GNW Altea is a manufacturer of low power instrument transformer, and very often these low power instrument transformer are used in projects where the main focus is to measure the power quality of a distribution network. So we are quite interested in this project.
Thanks, Andrea. Paolo Mazza from RSE.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, Mario. I'm Paolo Mazza. I'm with RSE. I'm the head of research group about measurements and diagnostics for transmission and distribution systems, the same group as Daniele. I'm in charge of research activities about voltage, current, energy, and power quality measurement in my company. And for ICM, the convener of TC38 working group of 47. We will talk about that later during the workshop. I'm also the secretary of SNELEC TC38. Thank you.
Thanks, Paolo. And now, Bernard Payat from EDF. Bernard, can you hear us? Okay, maybe we will try later. Now let's go further. Devika Poduval from BSL.
Hi, I'm Devika. I joined VSL starting this month. I've been actively involved in the IT4PQ project, knowing the accuracy and uncertainty limits of IT used for power quality measurements. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Devika. Now we have Robert Domerck from Amprion.
Yes, hello everybody. My name is Robert Domerck. I'm with Amprion and responsible for the group for power quality. Amprion is one of the 4 German TSOs, and we are working on a monitoring system to observe the trend of the harmonic levels and to assess its propagation in the system. And that's the reason why we are very interested in the results of this group, because we know that we have significant errors in the measurement distortion components with our instrument transformers. And we hope that we can learn a lot of during this project. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Robert. Now we have Robert Ziegler from University of Dresden.
Yeah, so hello to everybody. What my name? So Jan more or less told most points. So I'm in the quality research group of the TU Dresden with Jan as leader. And yeah, so I'm working on special measurements and the accuracy of this, and this leads me to the instruments transformer. Yeah.
Thanks, Robert. Now, Roberto Tinarelli from University of Bologna.
Good afternoon. I'm Roberto Tinarelli. I'm professor of electrical measurement at the University of Bologna. My research activity is mainly in the field of design and characterization of low power instrument transformer. And in this project, on the behalf of the University of Bologna, I lead the work package number 3.
Thanks a lot, Roberto. Now we have Michael Schwenke from Siemens.
Hello, everybody. My name is Michael Schwenke. I'm senior key expert for power quality in Siemens company in Berlin. I'm also product portfolio manager for power quality instruments, and I'm convener of SC77A Working Group 9, which deals with the power quality measurement methods. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Michael. Now, Stergios Dimakis from ZES Zimmer.
Hello, everybody. I managed to get a camera working in the meeting room I am right now. So my name is Stergios Dimakis. I am sales and application engineer for the company ZES Zimmer. Our company develops instruments for power measurement and analysis. I personally have been working with customers in the area of the Eastern Mediterranean, so mainly Italy, Greece, Turkey, and Israel. As stakeholders, we are hoping to contribute by providing consultation in all metrological matters, especially those relevant to power measurement and quality, as well as instrumentation for any relevant laboratory setups. For us, this cooperation will be clearly very important, not only because of the knowledge and experience we will collect, but also to observe and adapt to future market needs and upcoming products possibly. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Stergios. Now, Ye-Yin Chen from PTB.
Hi, everyone. I'm Ye-Yin Chen from PTB, German National Methodology Institute. I'm a PhD student working in Department Electrical Energy Measurement Technology, working group time-synchronized measuring system and sensors. My supervisor in PTB is Antico. Thank you.
Thanks, Ye-Yin. So, just a moment, please. Okay. Okay. I think that now we can start with the presentation of the workshop. First of all, we have the presentation from Gabriella Crotti, the coordinator of the project.
Mario, sorry, maybe there is something, somebody else who has not presented himself because he joined during maybe.
Okay, sorry. So I see Pierre-Jean from LNE. Hi, Pierre-Jean.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody.
may you shortly introduce yourself?
Okay. Good afternoon. My name is Pierre Benjamin, and I am a low-frequency department manager in LME French laboratory.
Thanks a lot. We have also Carmine Landi from University of Campania.
Mario, thanks for the organization. I work on power measurement and testing of electronic device. Thanks all for this organization, Mario.
Thanks a lot. Is there any other one that I missed from the list?
I think there is Burak Kayan from Tubitak.
Burak, may you shortly introduce yourself?
Do you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you.
Yes. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Burak Ayhan. I have been working at National Meteorology Institute of Turkey since 2000. My interested area is the measurement of power and energy, also the calibration of instrument transformers. Thank you for this organization.
Thanks a lot, Burak. Okay, so now
Sarasulis still.
I miss her. Sorry, very sorry. Sarasulis from University of Cagliari.
Sorry, I'm just a guest. I don't want to bother you with my presentation. I'm only here as a visitor. Thank you for your presentation.
Thanks, Sara. Thanks a lot. Okay, so Gabriella, I leave you the floor. You can introduce the project and give an overview to the
Thank you, Mario.
for the stakeholder committee and so on. Please.
Okay, thank you again, Mario, for this nice introduction to the workshop for the stakeholders. And let me start by thanking again all of you, and in particular the stakeholder, for having accepted to be part of the stakeholder committee and to attend this meeting. Well, the aim of my presentation is, of course, giving just a brief overview of our project, the IT4PQ project, which deals with the measurement method and procedure for assessing the accuracy of instrument transformer when they are used for power quality measurements. Well, this is the outline of my talk. I would like just to give you a few information about the framework within which this project is developed, that is the MP research program. Then I will briefly recall the motivation and background which are behind this project. And I want then summarize goal, implementation, and expected output, and also had a few information on the consortium. And finally, I would like to introduce you the role of chief stakeholder and the stakeholder committee. Well, what about the MP research program? The MP research program within which our project is funded is the European Metrology Program for Innovation and Research. And it is a particular specific European research program which is focused in the field of metrology. And it is anyway funded by Horizon 2020, but co-funded by Horizon 2020, and it is managed by Euromet, which is the regional organization which collects all the European National Metrology Institute. The aim of the HEMPIR project is to facilitate the collaboration and cooperation among European metrology institutes, industry, medical organization and academia, with the aim of facing a series of research projects which are organized under different calls. For example, we have MPIR calls on energy, environments, international system of units, and so on. In particular, our project has been funded and presented under the call normative. Call normative aims at supporting research which aims at developing methodological methods and techniques which are required for standardization, for regulation, and for conformity assessment also. I would like also to add that this project is supported by the European Metrology Network for Smart Electricity Grid, which is a network that see the participation of all the NMIs in Europe which collaborate on smart electricity grid and which has the aim to provide an answer to the metrology, the request concerning metrology in smart electric grids measurements. Well, a few words about project background and motivation. We all know what is behind this project. In particular, we know that going towards a climate neutral system by 2015 is a tough goal. This will imply decarbonization, full decarbonization of our energy supply system. But full decarbonization of energy supply system is based on one side on the large-scale electrification of the energy system, and on the other side on an extensive use of renewable energy sources. And all this will have for sure an impact on the quality of the energy which is transmitted and distributed by our electrical grids. This means that there is an increasing need and there will be an increasing need in monitor and control of the grid, but monitoring and controlling the grid is to be able to carry out accurate and traceable measurements under realistic grid conditions. So we have still a series of open issues concerning measurement of power quality. Well, if we think to power quality measurement instrument and state of the art, we have standards which deals with trustable power quality measurement methods, parameters, and uncertainty requirements, and these are the well-known IEC 661 standard -4-30 and the other standard of the -4 series. As regards test method, we have test defined by IEC in IEC 62586-1-2. But if we deal for power quality measurement in transmission and distribution grid, we have to use the instrument transformer to scale the line voltage and current to power quality measurement instrument inputs. And if we deal to standard concerning instrument transformer, they generally gives information and on accuracy limits and testing procedure at power frequency. Verification limits are given in the standard for harmonic frequencies, and the effect of transducer is recognized, but is not for sure deeply addressed. The only document which is fully focused on instrument transformer and power quality is the IEC Technical Report 61869-03, which dates back to 2012, if I'm right. And it gives a deep overview of the use of instrument transformer in power quality, but it leaves some gaps and open issues in the use and accuracy verifications. So for research, for additional research covering traceable characterization of instrument transformer in power quality measurement has been expressed by the ICTC 38. And in particular, some knowledge gaps have been evidenced, which regards in particular understanding and quantification of the instrument transformer behavior in power quality measurement, traceability of this measurement, and test procedure to qualify instrument transformer under ordinary and also hard conditions, that is under actual conditions. So all this consideration has led us to present a proposal that was approved under Call Normative 2019. The general aim of our proposal is to develop what we call the metrological framework. We can assure the traceable calibration and test of the instrument transformer for power quality measurement from, let me say, national measurement instrument to industry laboratory testing through, for example, test and calibration laboratories. The focus of the project is on measurement, power quality measurement in voltage distribution grids and on a frequency range up to 9 kilohertz. Well, this is the general aim. The project is organized in 5 objectives. The first one deals with the definition of the accuracy and certainty limits for instrument transformers in power quality measurement. The idea, the basic idea under this objective is that what we want to get is to extend the same approach that we have for defining instrument transformer accuracy class, to extend this approach to the measurement of power quality. The second objective deals for the reference measuring system. We need the reference measuring system for qualifying instrument transformer, characterize them, and we need methods for evaluating uncertainty contribution to power quality parameter measurements. The third objective is on the development of traceable test procedure to calibrate instrument transformer for power quality. The idea is to provide a common framework of test procedure, accurate enough and easy enough to be implemented by our stakeholder community. And then we have the fourth objective, which is on the evaluation of performance of instrument transformer under actual on-site condition and specifically under the presence of multiple influence factors. The last objective is concerned the impact of our project, and so what we want to have from the project to produce is a series of data, method, guidelines, recommendation, which can easily contribute and can be easily incorporated into technical report, documents, and standard, for example, of the IEC 61869 family. So to provide a usable input to standardization. Well, what about implementation of the project? This is just a scheme of the implementation. As you can see, we have 5 work packages. 3 are the most important one, let me say, are the 3 technical work packages, work package 1, work package 2, and work package 3 from the point of view of obtaining outputs. I don't want to go into details of the technical details of these work packages because these details will be provided to you by the work package leaders, which are for work package 1, Helco from VSL. In the case of work package 2, leader is Enrico from PTB, and as regards work package 3, the leader is Roberto from University of Bologna. Let me say just a few words about the rest of the consortium I forgot the most important from the point of view of the usage of the output of our project, the impact of work package 4, which is managed by Mario, and who is the organizer of this stakeholder workshop. And then as regard the consortium, besides the NMIs and university that I have already mentioned, I want to mention the other partners, which are the Czech Metrology Institute, CMI. We have the French NMI, which is LME, and the Turkish one, TÜBİTAK. And then we have RSE, which is the a research center managed by the Italian Ministry of Industry. and a further university, which is very well experienced on this subject, which is the Technical University of Dresden. Well, what about impact? Mario will give you more information about impact. What I want just to recall here is the importance of the one of the stakeholder committee and the chief stakeholder for creating impact on the project with respect both the standardization world and the wider stakeholder community. Well, why we have a chief stakeholder and what is his role? Well, chief stakeholder, the presence of a chief stakeholder is required by the call in the call normative, and we had to present our chief stakeholder when we submitted the proposal. The chief stakeholder is not a member of the consortium, but is a representative of the user community that will directly benefit from the activity that are proposed in the project and the outputs that we want to get. So in our cases, given the argument that of course our chief stakeholder is the ICTC38 instrument transformer, and in particular in the person of its chair. What is the chief stakeholder role? He has to provide input to the project on the basis of experience. It has to monitor the progress of the project, and he has to ensure that the work is well aligned with the stakeholder needs and what is asked from the market. And the chief stakeholder must be ready to take up the outputs of the project, which are the outputs which are expected to benefit the chief stakeholder organization. But together with the chief stakeholder, a good impact of the project can be only assured if we have a stakeholder committee. The presence of the stakeholder committee is for us of great help because it allows us to establish let me say, a direct link with the different stakeholders. What we would like to have is a link with transmission and distribution operator, but also we need regulators, manufacturer of instrument transformer, power quality measurement instrument, test instrument manufacturers. And then we have to consider the possible impact on test and calibration laboratories. We have an impact also on NMIs, even if not involved directly in the project. And technical committee members, we have seen, and we are happy to have ICTC committee members, chairs, SIGRE working group. This is quite important for us. From what we can offer to the stakeholder committee, we can say that we will regularly inform, and we want regularly inform the stakeholder committee about the project progress, so that and we can expect that they can benefit from the project results as a function of their interest, of course. On the other side, we will ask to the stakeholder committee to support our project with their practical experience and where they need, because they are operating in the field, and this is a great help for us. And their participation in the stakeholder committee, their involvement will be also facilitate the early exploitation of our results. So I want to underline the importance of this role. So just to come a conclusion, what we expect to get from this project is from one side an increased knowledge that fill gaps in the understanding and also the quantification of the ET's behavior when it is used in power quality measurement. And as the expected outcomes, we expect outcomes that can contribute to standardization in terms of definition of accuracy class for instrument transformer, establishment of reference setup and method for the qualification and the characterization of instrument transformer. We expect to have an architecture for simplified method for ET testing and a better understanding of the effects of combined influence parameter on instrument transformer. And again, all more detail. You will hear more detail about that in the next presentation. And we want just to have also an impact on standardization, and this will be achieved through a continuous interaction with the relevant working groups. And we will hear about this from Paolo and from Lorenzo. And as regard the direct standard impact, what we do what we want to be able to obtain is to be able to provide under the form, under various form, contribution that can be used for the issue of new or improved guidelines, recommendation or standards on the use of instrument transformer in power quality management. So from my side, it's all. So I thank you for your attention. And I would like to leave the floor to the work package leader for the presentation. I think if Mario agree, if there are questions of this part of the presentation, we can have a question, a series of questions at the end of the presentation from the group leader. What do you think?
Okay, good.
Okay.
Okay, thanks a lot, Gabriella. And so now we can move on. Now we have Elko from BSL, who will give an overview of the work package 1 of the project. Elko, please.
Thank you for the introduction, Mario. I will first share my screen. Sorry. I guess it's this one. No.
Okay, we see. No.
Sorry. You see it now? No, I don't think so.
No.
This is annoying. We see it now?
Okay, yes, we see.
Okay. I'm sorry about this delay. I'll try to shorten it as much as possible. I think we are somewhat behind already. Okay, so yeah, there we are. So you still see my screen?
We see it, but not in presentation mode.
Ah, okay, yeah, I see. Okay, let's do it like this then.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah. Okay, so this is about the first work package, and thanks Gabrielle for the nice introduction to the whole project. So my name is Helco van der Boom from VSL, but this work package is actually involving a lot of other institutes as well, listed here. First of all, it is about the accuracy and the uncertainty limits of the instrument transformer. So it's basically about the definitions and selection of methods and that kind of things. So the next this is about the tasks which are involved in this work package. So first of all, we intend to have a selection of the relevant power quality phenomena and the rated test conditions.
Sorry, Elko, we are not able to see your screen again.
I'll do it again then.
Okay.
So, okay. So this work package is consists of 3 major tasks. The first of them is about the selection of the power quality phenomena that are relevant, and also the rated test conditions that we are thinking of. So that means identification of the relevant power quality phenomena. It means definition of the relevant test conditions for ITs, and to also select the relevant influence factors, and of course to consider various categories of instrument transformers, that is inductive or low power instrument transformers, or combined sensors, or analog and digital output. All kinds of different ITs have different characteristics and behavior. The second task is about definition of performance indices and measurement methods. So if we have selected the influence, the power quality phenomena, then we need to define how to define when the instrument transformer is behaving as expected. So that means we have to define performance indices, and of course the related measurement methods. So what we consider is stationary, dynamic, and short and long time variation, but also transient phenomena. I'll come back to that. And the basic idea is to adapt power quality existing measurement methods, and to select the proper ones to perhaps to adapt them where necessary. The third task is about definition of the accuracy and uncertainty limits, and that means to define the accuracy of the instrument transformers, so not of the power quality parameters themselves, but of the instrument transformers when used for power quality measurements. So we will try to define a synthetic performance index, and also to propose a new class of instrument transformers, that is, or a new class definition, I should say, which is the power quality accuracy class. So we are familiar with normal accuracy classes, but they only refer to the 50 Hertz behavior, so to say, or the nominal frequency behavior. And this is really related regarding the power quality phenomena. Okay. The work package is in principle for the whole period of 3 years, but this activity is starting already now, and it is we have had the first results already, which I will share with you in a minute. The point, of course, is that the selection of the power quality phenomena and the rated test conditions influence all the other activities as well. So we should really be sure that we are selecting the proper ones here at this stage. Okay, so this is just to show you the list of activities. I won't read them all for you, but it's just to give you an impression of what type of work is to be performed, and also how many partners are involved. So the work is strongly based on existing work, like literature and standards, but also definitions and methods that have been described earlier. So what we will do here is to combine and select the proper IDs and the relevant IDs for our application, and that is involving selection of phenomena, but also to provide a questionnaire, for instance, and also selection of mathematical methods and that kind of things. Okay. So now I will go a bit more into the details. So I will show you the progress on mainly the first two activities, which are the core, or at least the start of the whole project. So this activity, this table here is regarding the selection of power quality phenomena. So what we did is we defined the phenomena to be investigated, but the key question, of course, is what exactly do we need to characterize for the instrument transformers? The question is, do we need to consider all the power quality parameters that are defined in the 61000-4-30, or maybe even more? or do we only need to investigate those parameters that are indicative for all the other parameters as well? So that is the way of thinking here. I will go along this list. So the voltage stability, we decided actually is already in the present standards, so we don't have to consider that. Next one is frequency stability. In literature, we've seen frequency variations up to 15% beyond the nominal value. So we will need to do frequency change tests and also phase jumps, which are relevant for rate of change of frequency testing as defined for PMUs. So we will definitely do that. Also, frequency linearity is relevant because several of the ITs are non-linear with respect to frequency. So what we have in mind is to sweep up to 9 kilohertz or perhaps 20 kilohertz. Officially, our limit in this project is 9 kilohertz, but we know that some standards already mention 20 kilohertz, so perhaps we should do that as well. These are, of course, relevant mainly for harmonic and interharmonic testing, and we will consider them. So then we will consider harmonics and also subharmonics and interharmonics. For the key question here is how many and which amplitudes, which phase, and up to which order. Do we want to investigate single components or also combinations, and how do we want to combine them? For instance, do we intend to generate highly peaked waveforms? In any case, we do want to consider this. Dips and swells is another story because they're well defined in power quality standards. But the question is, of course, if we have the voltage stability, do the dips and swells measurements really contribute much to further characterization for ITs? Do we need to do that separately? And the idea is not to do that, although Campania and University Campania and INRIM will first do preliminary tests, measuring the depth and the duration using a reference inductive divider. But we expect that it will not have any significant added value. Next thing is rapid voltage changes, RVCs, and we expect that these are covered by voltage variations and also by transients already, so that doesn't really add something significantly. The same holds for flicker. Flicker is a relatively long-term aggregated phenomenon, and the ITs are expected to follow the flicker behavior if they can deal with interharmonic tests and modulation tests. So modulations, as I said, that considers mainly modulation of the main signal for main signaling. We will consider that. And then transients, transient phenomena, that's also a difficult story. I'll come back to that in the next sheet. And then there's pulsed current signals, which are not particularly covered in the standards, but we think they will be covered by the transient definitions. Okay, I won't go into the details of this, but for each of the parameters that I just showed, University of Campania has gathered all the information from literature and standards and put it in one table. And for different types of instrument transformers, as you can see on the in the columns on top of this table, and for several power quality phenomena, we have defined which range of parameters is relevant here and should be tested. Okay, I won't go into the details here, but there's even more included here than I just showed, like burden dependence. Okay, and I promised to tell you somewhat more on transient phenomena, and we have decided only to consider two types of transients. As you know, there's all kinds of transients, and The question is, do we need to cover them all, or do we just need to investigate one or two and then guess or show that they're indicative also for the other transient phenomena? So what we have in mind now is to have oscillatory transients with a decaying amplitude on the left side here, the lower left side, and also just the single peaks with an exponential decay. But then also the question is, do we need to investigate bursts of transients as on the right side? And we're still considering that. But we think that these three things would be sufficient to cover everything. Then another example of what has been decided already or defined already is the identification of influence factors for various types of voltage and current sensors. This is a table drawn up by LNE, and they indicated environmental and circuital factors, including a range of variations from very low to very high. As you can see, several high dependence is defined already. These are in red in this table. So for instance, capacitive voltage dividers are very sensitive to the burden. This is how you have to read this table. And furthermore, the University of Bologna also has identified some other influence factors which are not yet covered in this table. In specific, the electric field, which might influence a specific type of sensors, and also the positioning of the core conductor, especially for current transformers. But there's probably some more, and I don't know if this is already completely finished, and probably it will be fine-tuned later on. At least it gives an indication of what kind of influence factors to investigate for which types of sensors. Okay. Hey, my presentation stops now. Yeah, okay. So in summary, the work has started already on the definition of the relevant power quality parameters and also on test limits and influence factors. And it is important to have a proper definition here, because this has a huge impact on all the other studies performed in this project. And therefore, feedback and support from stakeholders would be really appreciated. So I'm happy to present it here and hope that there will be some discussion at the end of this workshop. And actually some initial work on other activities has started already as well. For instance, for combined sensors, LNE has made an overview of the rated performance of the instrument transformers to be investigated. And even some tests have been performed already also by the University of Bologna regarding the temperature sensitivity. Okay, thank you for your attention so far.
Okay, thanks, Elko. And as we did for the previous presentation, we can have eventual questions after all the presentation from the project partners. So now we have a presentation from Enrico Mons from PTB, who will give us an overview of the work package 2 of the project.
Yes.
Enrico, please.
This is Chen will present.
Okay, Yayin.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, please, Yayin.
Thank you. I will share my screen. Okay. First, it's my great pleasure and honor to introduce you our work pack 2 part for the PQ4IT project. Work pack 2 concentrates on traceable test methods and reference measurement systems for the calibration of instrument transformers for power quality measurements. The presentation will be divided into 3 parts. First, an overview of work pack 2 about our partners, idea behind, expected deliverables and Gantt chart. Second, I'll show the detailed planning of the tasks. And finally, a brief look of the planned papers. So first, you can see here we have 9 organizations involved in our work package 2. And the purpose of the project is to support IEC TC 38 with the traceable calibration of ITs to be employed for PQ measurement in electricity grids. Work Pack 2 aims at establishing suitable reference measuring systems for ITs, establishing traceable test procedures for industry ITs, and evaluating the IT's performance using the power quality performance indices. The Work Pack 2 related objectives here is Objective 2 to establish suitable reference measuring systems for ITs and methods for the evaluation of the relevant uncertainty contribution of ITs to PQ indices. The laboratory reference systems will be adapted and integrated for the measurements under realistic medium voltage power quality phenomenon with the main type of current and voltage ITs. All the main PQ phenomena will be considered up to 9 kHz. Objective 3 is about to use the reference measuring system to establish traceable test procedures to calibrate the ITs used for PQ measurement in electricity grids. Finally, all the outcomes of WorkPack 2 will contribute to the Objective 5. Corresponding to the objectives, the 2 deliverables showed here are Work Pack 2 related. D3 claims that a good practice guide on the simplified calibration setups and the traceable method for the industry applications. And D4 requires for a report on reference measurement systems for ITs and methods for the evaluation of the relevant uncertainty contribution of ITs to PQ indices. By looking our Gantt chart, we are now at over the half of the first year. The main activities for the first year are on task 2.1 about established reference measurement systems and uncertainty evaluation to PQ indices. Task 2.2 about guidance for industry calibration setups and performance of ITs, and task 2.3 evaluation of IT's performance will mainly take place in the second and third year. Now we'll go into the details of tasks. Task 2.1 deals with establishment of reference measurement systems and uncertainty evaluation to PQ indices. The aim is to establish suitable reference measuring systems for ITs and the method for the evaluation of the relevant uncertainty contribution of ITs to PQ indices. There are 7 activities. Identify the requirements for the reference measurement systems for voltage and current transformers. Define the test procedure and conditions for testing. Activity 3 to 5 are parallel. The main partners will build up the reference measurement systems for current transformers, voltage transformers, and combined transformers. 6. Evaluation of the uncertainty and validation, and finally, submission of a paper. Then I'll move to preliminary works for this task. Start with PTB, the prototype of a calibration method here introduces a reference measurement system for current transformers. This contains a high current generation, a set of analog reference C2V transformers, and precision measuring systems. The two-channel VRS showed here is one of our precision measuring systems for wideband measurement range from 15 Hz to 115 kHz. Related work were published in two papers, and below the reference current to voltage transformers here were developed as reference for wideband current transformer calibration up to 2 kA. Also, related work were published in a conference paper and an abstract. Furthermore, the generation system is shown here with a programmable generator, two analog amplifiers, and high voltage and current transformers. This allowed the generation of complex test sequences as defined in the activities before. Preliminary tests of generation are presented besides here. Generation of sinusoidal signals up to 1 kA. Sinusoidal signals with harmonics up to 50th order up to 1 kA, rectangle signals up to 1 kA, and amplitude modulated signals. Here we present different types of current transformers for our future investigation. Some conventional inductive current sensors, the electronic current sensors also includes the C2V transformers that we showed before, and Rogowski core is currently under study. There is also a current transformer from a customer which showed a good behavior in frequency response with 10 times better than its class. This slide shows the block diagram and hardware descriptions of the generation and measurement setup under development at IRIM. The system is based on the National Instruments PXI platform, and it is designed to allow generation of actual disturbances and test waveform according to the output of work package 1. Preliminary examples of generation capabilities are also shown here. On the left, multi-tone signals with an imposed THD of 6.2%, and right, amplitude modulated signals is generated here. Also, IRIM has also already generated the additional PQ waveforms like drips, frequency ramps at medium voltage. Task 2.2 concerns the guidance for industry calibration setups and performance of the ITs. The aim is to study and implement architecture for simplified calibration setups and the method for the characterization of ITs in industry premises. The realized simplified measurement systems will be compared with the reference systems according to the task before. The result of this task will be used for the setup for a good practice guide. Here we have 6 activities: study of simplified industry calibration method and setups. Second, implementation and realization of simplified calibration circuits and methods. Ensuring traceability of simplified calibration setup. Comparison of simplified procedure result with the reference in task 2.1, and 5, good practice guide, and finally the deliverable 3. All activities have not been studied yet, but one device is presented for this part, that is for a comparison of simplified procedure results with the references. PTB offers this power analyzer LMG671 with current transformers up to 2 kA as a commercial option for measuring current and voltage transformers with the simplified calibration procedures and the reference one. Task 2.3 comes to the evaluation of the IT performance, aims at selecting and assessing the behavior of the representative samples of commercial instrument transformers using the worked-out performance indices from work package 1. There are 6 activities: selection of ITs to be tested, tests of commercial ITs, analysis and classification of results, survey on IT characterization data, report on IT performance, and deliverable 4, and finally a report to standardization IEC TC 38 WG 47 on evaluation of instrument transformer requirements. The tasks is also so far much further to be started. We will kindly ask for your expectations and the patience for this part. So finally, we come to the last part, the planted papers. According to Annex 1, there is only one paper required for Work Pack 2. This should be focused on the reference measurement systems and their uncertainties. Thank you very much for your attention.
Okay, thank you very much, Yein.
Yeah.
If there are questions for this part, you can ask your question after the all the presentation of the project partners. Now we move on to work package 3. Roberto Tinarelli from University of Bologna will give us an overview of this work package. Roberto, please.
Thank you, Mario. Good afternoon again to everyone. So now I share my screen. I found the correct screen. Here, the correct one. Okay, so do you see my screen now?
Yes, we see. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Mario. Okay, so the work package number 3 involve the most part of the partner of this project. The complete list of the partner can be seen in the slide. And from the point of view of the time scheduling, work package 3 is the last to start, given that it is mainly an experimental work package. So of course it can be started only if all the preliminary theoretical activity has been performed. The first task of this work package started last month in January, and of course, and for this reason, I cannot present you any result, because of course we are at the very beginning of the activity. It is expected that the activity of this work package will end at the end of the project or at the end of the 3 year with the 2 deliverable in month 34 and in month 36. Okay. Okay, so it is expected that the work package will provide indication on how to evaluate the performance of instrument transformer when measuring power quality parameter, and in particular in the presence of more than one influence factor. And the second, but not less important goal, is to define simplified test condition and procedure for the evaluation of this performance, given that, of course, we want that this project may be of help not only for meteorological laboratory or university laboratory, but mainly for industry that in this connection, of course, need simplified but correct procedure to evaluate the performance of the instrument transformer they design and sell. The reason of this goal is that the current standard, as probably everybody knows, does not take into account this aspect. In particular, for the point of view of influence quantity, current standard only consider the presence of one influence factor at a time, but of course, in actual situation, more than one can be present at the same time, and there is no evidence that the effect can be linearly combined. And mainly, power quality parameters are not considered given the standards only refer to the well-known ratio and phase actor. This is the reason for which it is for which Work Package 3 wants to provide as a final result, want to reach as a final result the goals shown in this slide. To reach these results, Work Package number 3, of course, as I said before, needs several input from the previous work package, and in particular, it is expected that Work Package number 1 will provide to Work Package number 3 information about the main influence factors to be taken into account and the power quality parameters to be evaluated in presence of this influence factor. And from the Work Package 2 side, it is expected information on uncertainty evaluation and kind of instrument transformer to be tested, and finally information about the reference generation and measurement setup. As output of this work package, as said as shown in a different form in the previous slide, it is expected that 2 deliverables will be provided more or less at the end of the project. It is a month 34 and a month 36. Deliverable number 5 will deal with a data set of measurement data related to the test of IET performed in presence of separate and combined influence factor. And as a very final results of this project, deliverable number 6, probably the most important one, is for sure the more important one of this work package, is the definition of a guide on method for performing and method procedure for performing measurement on instrument transformer, power quality measurements on instrument transformer in presence of multiple influence factor. The work package is organized in 3 activities. In the first one, the testing condition for evaluating the effect of the main influence factor will be defined, whereas in the second activity, mainly the test condition defined in the previous activity will be used to evaluate the effect of such influence factor when applied one at a time, or as a combination of two or more of them. And the third activity, lastly, will deal with the definition of a simplified procedure for evaluating the performance of IT when used to measure power quality parameter, of course, in presence of combined multiple factors. So, as said at the beginning of my presentation, the work package number 3 is essentially essentially based on experimental activity. In particular, task 3 number 1, or activity 3 number 1, is started this month, so we are very beginning, and its output are essentially the definition of a test condition procedure and architecture for evaluating the effect of main influence factor on a subset of power quality indices as provided by work package number 1. It is defined on 7 activity, which are listed here, and as you can recognize, the most common influence factor, grouped in this case in a group of two influence factor. Task number 2 is started last month, and it is its output is essentially deliverable number 5, which is the above described data set of measurement, and moreover, it is expected that will also lead to an open access paper. This task is divided into 8 activity, and it started as the analysis of available data from literature, which is the activity we started the last month from Tubitak, and here are the list of the main activity. In particular, the second part of the task will start at month 18, given that it is with performance test with separate influence factor, and therefore, given that to perform this, of course, several inputs from the previous, from the other activity, from the other work package, and from other activity are needed. The last task requires as input the result of task number 2, and it will start at the beginning of the third year, month 23, and the final result is the above described good practice guide on method and procedure for evaluating the performance of instrument transformer in presence of multiple influence factor, and these are the main. It is divided in 8 activity. Okay, I don't read the activity are listed here, so we are very far from the start of this activity, so I think it is not necessary to bother you with a lot of data that are at the moment are not usable. Up to now, only, as I said before, only 2 activity has started, one in task 1 and one in task 2. One is started last month, the second one is started this month. So, as I said before, I cannot show any result, and I cannot show you any result because there are not. We are at the very beginning of the activity, which are these are the partner involved in this activity. Tubitak for activity A.2, 1.2.1, and Unibo as leader, IM, LNE, PTB to the Tubita for activity A3.1.1, which started in February. So now it started a few days ago. For my best knowledge, it is expected that we can provide some preliminary result on this kind of activity. The activity A3.2 is essentially based on the analysis of the theoretical background, of the background of the literature. So there is no possibility to write a paper, I think, but from this from the activity 3.1.1, to my personal knowledge, I expect that we can produce a paper from the next we can submit a paper to the next workshop on applied measurement for power system that will be take place online at the end of the next September. Probably Unibo and also some other partners can provide some preliminary result in this conference. So now I am at the end of my presentation. It was very short, but work package number 3 started just this month, and I cannot show any result. I only provide you a very short description of which are the main goals of these work packages. Thank you for your kind attention.
Okay, Roberto, thanks. And now we can have the last presentation from the project partner, which is from my side. I will share my screen. Okay, the last presentation is about work package 4 of the project, work package 4, which deals with the impact of the project. I will try to be very, very short, since we are quite late on time schedule of the workshop. So, which is the scope of the work package 4? The scope is to guarantee as wide as possible dissemination of the knowledge that will be generated within this project. So the structure of the work package 4 is there are 3 tasks. The 4.1 knowledge transfer, the second is training, and the third uptake and exploitation. The first one, the knowledge transfer, involves all these activities. The stakeholder committee, thanks to all the stakeholders present today, we have done this first activity. Then we are still having, and we will have during the project, periodic meetings with chief stakeholder, which is the ICTC 38. We are constructing the project website. We have registered the domain IT4PQ.eu, but it is still under construction. We have to present 12 papers at international conferences. 3 of them have been already presented. We have to submit 5 papers to international journals, and 1 of 5 has been submitted. We have to submit 3 papers in trade journals, but I think now it is too early. We will submit later on during the progress of the project. We have to disseminate information among technical committees. this activity is in progress, and we have to disseminate also reports for stakeholder committee. We are preparing the first one, and I think in the next weeks we will be able to circulate the first report among the stakeholder committee. And the last activity of the first task is to give deliverable to the TC38, but deliverables will come about in the end of the project, so now it is too early for them. The second activity regards the knowledge transfer. The first activity are the organization of the stakeholder workshop. The first is today. Thanks again to all of you for being here. And we have to organize other two stakeholder workshop, one at the middle of the project and one at the end. And we all hope that we can have this workshop in presence as face-to-face meeting. We want to see you and to invite in Naples and maybe in Turin, the last one. But we hope, cross the fingers. Then we have to organize a training course for PhD student. Maybe it will be organized in the period from June to September 2022, the next year. Last task of the work package regard the exploitation plan for intellectual properties and testing services, activity in progress, and the plan for early uptake. This is also in progress. So this is all for work package 4, and all also from all the presentation from the partner of the project. Now we can have some minutes for questions for us, and then we can have a 10 minutes break before recovering with the presentation from the stakeholders. So now, are there any questions for us, for Gabriella, for Elko, Yeyin, Roberto, or me? We are happy, we are here, and we'll be happy to answer.
Maybe if I can, Mario, I just have a remark on the first presentation from Helco. I looked with much interest on the parameters and on the use cases which have been presented, and I think the selection is okay. So I think this is really the, let's say, the sensitive parameters and the sensitive use cases which are making sense in conjunction of instrument transformers and the power quality measurements which are associated.
Okay, thanks, Volker. Elko, would you like to say something to Volker?
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you for this this remark. This is good to hear, of course. Perhaps we can send you the report as well, such that you can study maybe in a bit more detail what we just presented and provide some more feedback if you're open to that. That will be very welcome.
And I would be very interested in that, yeah. And also, I think maybe the other colleagues from TC38, which are not involved in the project.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. Thank you.
Thanks, Volker. Any other question, comment, remark?
Mario, if you agree, at the end of this workshop, we can circulate among the participants, the stakeholder, I mean, which are not involved in the project, the slides, at least that we have presented as partners of the project, I mean, and then we can discuss with stakeholder if they want to share or not their presentation, but this up to them, of course, if you agree. This could be useful.
Yeah, thanks. Sure, we can share our presentation to all the interested people, and maybe we can also upload all these presentation to the public website of the project. I hope that in few weeks it will be ready. And it can contain a specific page focused on this first stakeholder workshop and contain all the presentation of this first workshop.
Okay, but we have to ensure the stakeholder that before uploading any kind of presentation, we will ask to the presenter if they agree or not.
Yeah, sure. Correct. Okay, so if there are no other comments or questions, I would say that now we are ready for the coffee break. And so we can meet again at 4:15. See you later.
See you later.
Thanks, Mario. See you.
Okay, I think we are on time to continue the workshop. So now we enter into the second part, sorry, of the workshop, and we now have some presentations from the stakeholders. First of all, a presentation from Volker Leitloff, who is the chairman of the ICTC 38, and we are very proud to host him today. So, Volker, please.
Yes, thank you. I will try to share my screen. Can you see? Can you see my screen?
Not yet.
I have to okay.
Okay, perfect.
Okay. Okay, I will go in presentation mode. Yes, actually, this is a presentation which is, let's say, not very different from the presentation I gave at the kickoff meeting, and so I will not maybe redetail the items we already discussed before, and also some of the items have been addressed already during the previous presentations. So I will try to make not a redundant presentation. So TC38 instrument transformers. The secretary is Filippo. I think he's online also. And myself, I'm the chair. We have the technical officer with this Miroslav Siket. As of today, we have 46 members, 26 P members, and 20 observer members. So we are a quite big technical committee, maybe not the biggest, but we are not small. We have 10 working bodies with several project teams or task forces in some of them, and we have 15 licenses, which is also quite important. We had a technical meeting more or less in every 2 years. Now, as you know, last year we had to cancel the meeting in Bucharest, which was scheduled for Bucharest due to the COVID crisis. Now we have decided that we will hold a plenary meeting in September 2021. We still do not know whether it will be web or face-to-face. Probably will not. It's very probable that we will not be able to make it face-to-face, so it will be probably web. What is sure is it will be in week 38 from September 20 to 24. And we also, in conjunction with this plenary meeting, we will hold a workshop, so either face-to-face or web. So we have already discussed this, and you as project with contributing to TC38, you are encouraged to prepare presentations for this workshop, and I think this is really the sense of this dissemination you talked about, Louisa, to do that. So the scope of TC38 is the standardization in the field of instrument transformers. It has been extended in 2009 in order to take into account the new technologies. I will just have to update my connection, else I will lose. Yes, I will lose you. So I will go on with this. The main part of the standards we have is instrument transformers. This is the series 61869. You know all well. We have also other standards which are in our scope, which are fault passage indicators and station service voltage transformers. But let's say the main part are the instrument transformers. Here in the instrument transformers, there are three, let's say, sections within the standards. One is the general parts related to HV applications. Then we have the technical reports, and then we have a section which is now being developed, which are the parts 2XX, which concern low voltage instrument transformers. And these low voltage instrument transformers, they are also relevant for the IT4PQ project. I can go back to presentation mode. I will not give describe every standard. Here is a list. Here is the list of the standards as they are today. You will have the presentations, and the more or less the same information is also on the TC38 website. What is maybe important to say, we are now in the process of preparing edition 2 of part 1 general requirements. There have already been several parts of this, several versions of this which have been circulated. The last was the CD4 in November last year, and this updated version 2 will be merged with part 6 of the edition 1. We are also preparing a circulation of a new document, which is a glossary. We noticed that in particular in relation with low power instrument transformers, some definitions were not consistent between the different parts of our standards. And so in order to resolve this, we decided to put all the definitions into one document, which will be common for all the instrument transformers, which is the future part 99. Also, this document was circulated for comments at the end of last year. Then, as you know, we have activity in low power instrument transformers. Several standards related to low power instrument transformers are published. The two documents which are now being developed by the task force led by Lorenzo is additional requirements for electronic voltage transformers and additional requirements for electronic current transformers. These documents were circulated last year, and we have now completed, I think, the process of reviewing and commenting, and it is expected that a new version of them will be circulated by soon. It is important. It's important to note that now, with respect of last year, the part 13, which is the standard for the standalone merging units, is now published. It has been published just some weeks ago. It's a new standard, important standard, and there were many expectations on this standard to be published. And I'm very glad to be able to announce that that it is now available. We have also standards on DC instrument transformers, which have been published 3 years ago, and several what I call companion standards, which are, let's say, under development or identified. This is a functional chain. I will not go into the details, but this is the functional chain for protection. You can, I think, interface the digital interface. You can identify a similar functional chain for power quality applications. So this also may be relevant. I don't know whether you will be able to consider this. And then, as I mentioned before, the new part for low voltage application for instrument transformers, which are now under development. A big step was also at the end of last year when 3 documents of this new series or sub-series of standards have been circulated. And we hope that we will be able to circulate new versions of these documents based on the comments received in the middle of this year. We have also several technical reports. The report which is most relevant for your project, which also has been mentioned, this already has been mentioned by Gabriela, is the part 103, use of instrument transformers for power quality measurements, which was prepared in 2012 by a task force led by Paolo. And in some way, Paolo is the central part of this subject for one of the central persons for this subject of TC38. Then we have the fault passage indicators and substation voltage transformers, which are, let's say, not directly related to power quality issues. Now, as I mentioned in the kickoff meeting, regarding the power quality issues seen from TC38, we have now this technical report, which gives the analysis of the measurement chain, and as Gabriela said, leaves open some question and some space for investigation. And in the subsequent let's say actions from TC38, we identified which would be necessary to go forward on this subject for the standardization, and this led to a list which we addressed in 2018 to the STAIR Empire Secretariat to describe the standardization needs for instrument transformers in the field of power quality, which then gave rise to the Empire project measurement methods and test procedures for assessing the accuracy of instrument transformers of power quality measurements. I think which and the IT4PQ project was launched in this framework. I have also to mention that we have a close coordination with the CENELEC. Paolo is also, as you know, as he mentioned, the secretary of the CENELEC TC38, and I'm myself the chair of the CENELEC TC38. So it's very easy for us to make the link between this technical committee also. What we expect as result from the project is, this is what I said. I think the presentations you gave, they show that you have that you are really responding to these expectations we have. So we expect to have new parameters and indices for evaluating the accuracy of instrument transformers for harmonics, interharmonics, and other disturbances. So this is why I said the list which Helco showed is corresponding to these requirements. To give a synthetic performance index for power quality measurements, and also this was mentioned before. The requirements and architecture proposals for the reference setups for calibration of instrument transformers. So this is, I think, this corresponds to the work package 2. And then the performances for simultaneous presence of multiple influence factors. So this was mentioned by the presentation in the work package 1, and I think even the list which was shown was more extended than the list we have here. So I think all these items are taken into account. We also have expectations regarding the results related to tests. So of course, it is necessary to have test methods to evaluate the performance of instrument transformers for power quality measurements. And I noticed that the way you take will give these test methods, or will enable us to describe these test methods. Also the evaluation methods for the uncertainty contribution of instrument transformers, and the test procedures and evaluation methods for the calibration of instrument transformers. The use of the results we project today. So today I mentioned that we have the working group 47 market needs, which is convened by Paolo, and let's say it is this working group which is to evaluate the possibility of modifying the standards based on the results we obtained. So the results will go first, let's say, in principle formally to working group 47, and then give rise to proposals for modifications, evaluations of the different standards we have, which will then be assigned to the different working bodies of TC38 which are relevant for this or that subject. So this will be a base for possible development of a future standard focused on instrument transformers for power quality measurements, and also the identification and quantification of influence factors in the ongoing standards. And we have also, I have not mentioned this yet, but we have the Joint Working Group 55 led by Lorenzo, who is working on this item. We have, let's say, close interactions already between the project and TC38, because many of the contributors of the project are also active experts in TC38. So I have no, let's say, I have no doubts that we will be able to really take into charge the results and use the results which are produced in the project. As mentioned before, we welcome presentations of the project in TC38. I mentioned the workshop before, so I just say again, you are encouraged to prepare presentations for the workshop in which is organized with the plenary meeting in September. There's also, during the plenary meeting, it is planned that there's a formal progress presentation, so during the formal meeting of the project. And then in a more informal way, it is possible, of course, to present the progress of the project in the different working bodies. So in Working Group 47 or Working Group 55 will be very easy, because the conveners, they can manage this easily. And we already had in the last year, at the end of last year, a presentation of the project by Gabriela in the CAG, Committee Advisory Group of TC38. And also, as discussed before, it would be interesting for us if documents, reports, or presentations could be made available to TC38 experts. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Volker, and thanks also for having highlighted the needs from the TC38, so we can address them in a particular way during the project activities. So I suggest that we can have the presentation from Paolo and from Lorenzo, and then if there are any questions, we can answer. Now we should have the presentation from Bernard Payat, EDF, but he has some problems and he cannot present. So we can move forward to the presentation by Paolo, who is the secretary of the CENELEC TC38 and the convener of the Working Group 47 of the ICTC 38. Paolo, please, you can.
Thank you, Mario, for the introduction. I try to show my presentation. Please confirm me if you are able to see it. Oh, sorry, this is the last slide. Just a moment. Okay, I will not go back to the activities that are in program in the project, since all the presenters already gave many details about them. I will give some information about the activity of TC38 Working Group 47, and about the goals and that have been assigned to this working group. And I will try to focus on the expectations of the final users of the standards according to the experience we gathered during these years. So the Working Group 47 scope is to prepare the evolution of the requirements in TC38 standards to take into account the technological evolution of devices traditionally connected to instrument transformers, that is meters, protective relays, and so on, as well as the new needs associated to emerging new applications, so power quality measurement, power meters, synchrophasors. As you can see, it is a very wide scope, and it is I'm very happy because it is very interesting to work in this working group. We have 46 experts coming from 16 countries, mainly from Europe, but some experts are located worldwide, to the USA, to China, Australia, and so on. We have a strong representation of manufacturers, but also experts coming from national meteorological institutes, from research institutes and universities, from test laboratories, and from TSO and DSOs. As Volker mentioned before, this group has been set up following the one who prepared the technical report about the power quality measurement with instrument transformers that has been published in 2012. And our working group is a sort of bridge among TC38 and other technical committees in IC that are focused on the secondary equipment. It's a bridge between TC38 and its stakeholders in standardization. And so we have links with TC13, that is energy measurement, to TC33, that is power capacitors, 57, power system management and information exchange, 77A, that is EMC, 85, that is measuring equipment, and 95, that is relays and protection equipment. Okay, we can, here you can see another representation of these interactions. At present, we have 5 task forces about influence quantities, about power quality measurement, about traveling waves applications, PMUs applications, and task force that is focused on the collection of information about the ratings of the instrument transformers that are used worldwide, since TC38 also needs to know which is the market situation in order to be market relevant. So the task force about the traveling waves already produced the preliminary document. Task force leader is Volker. And here you can find some information about the contents of this preliminary document that has been circulated in TC38. We will have a strong connection with the working group SIGRE A3-45 that is led by Eric Sperling, as he mentioned before. So we will be able to gather some other information, and we also are expecting some new contribution also from China, probably. We have the task force about phasor measuring units that is led by Mario Luiso, and this document is focused on the use of instrument transformers, on the impact of instrument transformers in PMU applications. And we will issue a preliminary document in the next weeks in TC38, and we will probably publish and discuss it for the plenary meeting in September. We have two more task forces that now are very familiar to all of you. One is a power quality task force. The leader is Ivo Novakovic from Croatia, and to be the task force which will interact a lot with this project. And moreover, we have another task force that is focused on multiple influence quantities that is led by Lorenzo Peretto. And so you can already imagine all the links and the interactions with the project. Some advertisement in order to gain some possible further participation. Probably the next subject that will be dealt by the working group will be on-site tests, on-site accuracy tests on instrument transformers, and the aspects relevant to aging of instrument transformers with reference to both accuracy and performance. So the subject that will be covered by the project have been already presented in detail. So I would like to focus on some aspects. It is very important, in our opinion, to have a clear representation of the PQ events to be considered with respect to instrument transformer behavior. On the about the instrument transformers technologies, we know that we have inductive instrument transformers. That is the older the technology. We have also low power instrument transformers that are in some way new, and we need to collect information, reliable information about their behavior, and it is very important to have a correct representation of all the technologies. From this aspect, it is very important to be technology neutral. Because inductive instrument transformers are installed worldwide and are often used for example, for PQ monitoring aspects with very good results. So it is very important to give to both manufacturers and users the right framework in order to be able to assess and to qualify their equipment. It's not important which technology for power quality application. So we have a very high level framework that is represented by power quality standards. So 50160, 61000-4-30, and so the main standards about power quality. But it is very important to know how instrument transformers, it's not important the technology, fit with these standards. And from this point of view, it is very important to build a traceability chain from national standards up to the manufacturer laboratories, and to set up test methods and procedures that can be suitable for the laboratory which will apply them. So from national meteorological institutes with the high accuracy level that they can offer, which with the equipment that they can have available, up to the manufacturers' laboratories. And it is very important to have to offer also to present to manufacturers test methods, procedures, and technologies that can be achieved at a reasonable cost, but are affordable, and with the results of this test have to be in line with the traceability offered by national metrological institutes. So some methods have been already presented in technical literature. We have methods based on superposition, on sweeper frequency analysis. It is very important to offer to the users, that is manufacturers and customers, a right representation, the representational as affordable as possible of the situation. And this way it will be possible also to propose some classification in order to match instrument transformers which with measuring equipment used for power quality monitoring aspects. The second aspect which will be considered, it is the one tied to multiple influence factors, the simultaneous presence of more than influence factor in the evaluation of the behavior and of the accuracy of an instrument transformer. As you know, traditionally in IC38, influence factors have been taken into consideration in a separate way. So one influence factor per time. It is very interesting because it deals with real on-site application. It is very interesting to know what happens if we have more than one influence factor. So we can have compensation, but we can also have, in some cases, addition with strong influence on behavior and accuracy. So this, and you can find in the presentation also the influence factor that have been considered and that will be considered in the project. As Volker told you, we will have many opportunities of discussing the results of the project. So during the working group 47 and also 55, Lorenzo will talk about this in some minutes. During our working group meetings, during the workshop of IC4PQ, which will take place in September, and during the plenary meeting for a formal presentation to all the national committees. The workshop is open to the whole instrument transformer community, so it is not restricted to national IC national committees, and it will be, in my opinion, very interesting to have to get some presentation of the results that will be achieved by the project. All the experts that are interested can join Working Group 47. Of course, they have to ask their national committee, their IC38 mirror national committee in order to join, but all the experts are welcome, and in order to enforce the structure of the working group. So thank you very much, and
thanks a lot, Paolo. We can move on. Now we have the presentation from Lorenzo, who is the convener of the working group 55 of the TC38.
Mario, can I share my screen?
Sure. Please, Lorenzo.
Yeah, just a moment. Are you? Do you have my presentation on the screen?
Yeah, we can see it. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Mario. Here, I would like just to take, let's say, the 10 minutes schedule for giving you information regarding what we have done during this period for writing the document inside TC38 relevant the evaluation of uncertainty, the management of uncertainty and calibration of instrument transformers. And just a very short introduction regarding this working group. Working group has been established around more than 2 years ago, working in this topic. And today we have a lot of members coming from worldwide. There were 56 members, and as you can see here, but I will tell you something more in the next slide. This work is a dual logo work. I mean, is made in conjunction with IEEE, in particular IEEE TC39 of Instrumentation Measurement Society. TC39 is measurement in power systems, and they agreed. So we have made a sort of joint venture for making and coming up with this document, which is now in the final stage. This is the website where you can see all the information you will want. Just Google Working Group 55, and you will see this page on the website. I think it's important to give you, starting giving information from the scope of the document. And in particular, we wanted, in origin, the aim of this work has been to provide, write a document dealing with two different, let's say, information to the users. The first one is the concept of uncertainty, have a sort of agreed method for evaluating uncertainty. And the second scope, or let's say goal of this document, is also to write down procedures for the calibration in order to take into account all the possible sources of uncertainty. And then in conclusion, to write correctly the expression of uncertainty by taking care and taking into account all the sources we have considered. So methods and procedures for calibration, and on the contrary, on the other side, excuse me, method for our evaluation and interpretation of measurements uncertainty. As I told you, this is a dual logo work, has been done, a dual logo work. And just to give you information regarding where we are, the document is done, it has been written. We can absolutely share the document with those of you who are interested in reading it. It is in the final stage, and now we are ready for circulation among all the national committees in the world for having inputs, for comments and remarks, in order for us to take care those, considering that we already have circulated the document and we received comments and we have addressed them. And now this second, the second run could be considered the last one for us. So the document could be, let's say, ready for publication for sure this year. That's it. Just to give you a summary of the work done, for time reason, I cannot go in depth because it's a pretty huge document. And but we have started. First of all, we have considered all the standards and the documents available, already published, dealing with that. So just to give you a very, very short summary of them, but in particular, please consider the last two. Where you see we have used the GAM, the Guide to the Expression of Uncertainty Measurement, as the guide for evaluating and expressing the uncertainty. And last but not least, we have used the VIM, V-I-M, the vocabulary metrology, for being sure to use correctly the same terminology. In particular, regarding this last point, I want to give you an example of inconsistency, non-consistency. Excuse me. For instance, the term uncertainty, the word uncertainty, is interpreted, or let's say two different meanings are assumed for the concept of uncertainty, according to two different standards. In particular, in 61430 IEC, it is referred to be the maximum expected deviation of a measured value. So it is something you will see in the next slide, deterministic. It's not something related to probability. It's the maximum deviation. While in the GAM, in the ISO IEC Guide 98-3, it is expressed in terms of probability. And in particular, it is given as the standard deviation of a random variable associated with a measurement result. So if we are, on one side, we have a deterministic approach for expressing the uncertainty, and on the other side, we have a probabilistic approach. But it is not just a matter of methods for evaluating, it's a matter of numbers. In particular, if we are assuming the maximum entropy method for evaluating in case of propagation of uncertainties, we have that the difference in the uncertainty between the two definitions is in the order of 70%, is the square root of 3 difference. So just to say that, first of all, we had to agree on terminology in order to speak the same language and be on the same page. Then to get a little bit deeply in depth regarding the document, we have first of all written or considered all the possible influence quantities in instrument transformers from a calibration standpoint. And in particular, you see there the burden, the secondary connection, the return primary connection in case of current transformers, residual magnetization, temperature, external fields, proximity, linearity, and so on. There are others not written here, grounding effects, and so on. We have tried to list, we have sorted all the possible effects, and we have considered the most important ones. Then we have considered the, let's say, from speaking, these one are surrounding the system, are environmental quantities that can be considered. Here we have also considered all the sources of uncertainty in the calibration system. So in particular, we have considered metrological characteristics of the reference device, of the bridge or comparator, depending on how we call it, used for evaluation and evaluating the uncertainty, the ratio error, the phase error, or phase displacement. In case of commercial bridge, in case of comparators or bridges made by data acquisition board, we have also considered, for instance, the number of effective bits, the time skew between input channels, and so on. And then the metrological characteristics of the burden. The power source, we have considered the stability, short-term stability, long-term stability, the amplitude, the noise associated with the input, with the primary quantity, and the system effect, like the ground effects, as we have seen also before. Last but not least, with the processing. In particular, the software used can be a source of uncertainty and then can propagate the effects of uncertainty arisen outside it. That's why we have studied a lot, in particular, which software, which method to use for extracting the phase, or in particular the amplitude and the phase errors. So we have considered, as you can see here in the slide, the leakage effect, the mathematical expression used for evaluation, aliasing problems, in particular for Rogowski coil, where the amplification of all the noise in frequency can be dangerous on this side. Number of measurements should be done, for instance, repeated measurement for the evaluation of, according to the method A, type A method of evaluation of uncertainty according to the GAM. Windowing effect, it can introduce phase offset and so on. Calibration setup, it's the second section, the second clause considered, and we have, as I have underlined here, the methods for calibration of IT. For instance, do we calibrate them in single phase, in three phase? We have considered that a large part is dedicated to the on-site calibration. And so from an uncertainty standpoint, not as a method, but in particular, which quantities to consider affecting the measurement result. Reference transformers, bridges, characteristics, and so on. Another clause has been dedicated to the methods for evaluating the uncertainty errors. This is the core. This is the most important clause we have considered, and here we have written the, let's say, the expressions for evaluation of uncertainty. I give you three sketches, three drawings, representing what we have considered as possible and typical procedures for calibration. In particular, I don't know if, yes, the model is working. Consider the device under test, which is the instrument transformers to be characterized, and the reference IT. This is a very typical. No, the comparator is here. This is typical, used nowadays for, let's say, calibration of instrument transformers. So this is what we have as is, no, as is. What next? What is going to be according to the new generation of instrument transformers, in particular in case of device under test, I mean instrument transformer with digital output, and reference instrument transformers with analog output. In this case, the block diagram, the representation of the setup is made slightly differently than before, because we need to have a PLL for locking the signals. We need a general clock for, let's say, triggering both sides of the setup. And then here you have the device, the digital output device. The primary side is here, but you see the primary part is analog. And then the comparator, which shall be different than before, because it has to deal with an analog input and digital input. Then we have the third scheme, where everything is digital. In particular, the primary sinusoidal source is completely digital, so the output is digital, and then it goes directly to the comparator, which is completely 100% digital. And then here we have a sort of a conversion between digital to analog in order to apply the primary quantity to the device under test, and then go away digitally to the comparator. So digital, digital. As you see, we have tried to consider all what is now and what next in the near future is going to become. As I told you, we have considered the GAN, so I don't want to spend so much here because I think more or less everybody knows it. So in particular for type A method, we have focused on the we have focused. We assume to exploit the central limit theorem in order to set the number of measurements to be done. So the basic goal is to make the type A method contribution almost negligible with respect to the type B. And the type B method can be, we have assumed in the worst scenario, in the worst case, we have propagated uniform distributions according to the maximum entropy principle. This is just the very final conclusion expression, which is pretty simple. But in the document, there are pages of considerations and expressions. In order to arrive to have this final expression, we wanted to keep it as simple as possible, because this document is intended to be used by the users, are manufacturers, are people which is not so aware of these concepts. And that's why we tried to figure out how to simplify it by considering negligible quantities, linearization sometime of other functions, and so on. In the end, you see, I think that the last important thing to say is the following. You see here these int 1, 2, and 3 in the evaluation of ratio error and phase displacement. What are? They are, we have divided into, int means intermediate. Intermediate means that we tried to divide the propagation of the uncertainty into three main steps, or excuse me, three main stages. The first one is relevant to the contributions provided by the transformers, both reference and device under test. In the intermediate two, we consider that all the contributions, many, around 10 contributions coming from cabling, burden, crosstalk, electromagnetic interference, frequency, temperature, and so ever. So all of them has been assumed to be contributions to uncertainty, and we have, for this reason, propagated them. And then the third one is the comparator, which is providing also a contribution to uncertainty. And by taking into consideration all of three, we have then, you see here, came up with a very simple final expression, which can be assumed to be used by the manufacturer or laboratories interested and with the intent to estimate the uncertainty, expanded uncertainty, and we have assumed in the document an expanded uncertainty with a confidence interval of 95%. So coverage factor equal to 2. That's all. I tried to stay in the minutes I want to stay. So if you have any question, please don't hesitate. I'm totally available. And again, if somebody is interested in the document for providing comments, remarks, and so ever, I will be very happy to share it. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Lorenzo. Now we have 1 or 2 minutes for some questions for Volker, for Paolo, and for Lorenzo. So if there are any questions, you can do now. Otherwise, we can move on to the next presentation, which is from, as you see here, from Dr. Luca Lo Schiavo from ARERA, which is the Italian authority for regulation in the energy sector. Doctor, we are very proud to have you today here and to have a presentation from ARERA. You can briefly introduce yourself, and then you can have your presentation. Please.
Thank you, Professor Luiso. I hope you hear me. Luca Lo Schiavo speaking. I'm Deputy Director of the Regulatory Authority for Electricity, Gas, and other public service like waste, heating, waste collection, heating, and water, and sewing. Well, I'm happy to be here, although maybe I'm not exactly a person skilled in very technical issues like voltage quality measurement, but I suppose it can be interesting what a regulator of in the electricity sector can do about voltage quality, and especially how industrial customers react to this kind of stimuli from the regulators. So the National Regulatory Authority in Italy was constituted at the end of the 90s, exactly in 97. And since its beginning, thanks, I have to say, also to a law that is very enlightened about quality of service, we devoted a great attention to continuity supply and also to voltage quality issues over time. In continuity supply, the Italian regulator was amongst the first one in introducing a kind of incentive regulation with rewards and penalty mechanism, and also individual standards and compensation for interruptions. At system level, we use SAIDI-SAIFI and also MAIFI. MAIFI means the average number of short interruption per year in a given area, where short means from 1 second to 3 minutes. We also had an important role in the revision process of the technical standards EN 5160, when a group of European energy regulators cooperated with Senelec in order to devise such a review, where in particular the classification of voltage dips has been introduced according the duration and depth of voltage dips. The first activity in Italy was launched in 2004 with a monitoring system that covered a sample of medium voltage measuring points in the high voltage, medium voltage substation, representing about 10% of the medium voltage network. This system was operated by RSE, that I every time want to thanks for the great contribution to such a very technical issue. And year after year, we arrived to introduce an obligation from 2015 that every DSO shall install and operate a monitoring device for voltage quality on every medium voltage bus bar in the high voltage, medium voltage substation. So there are around 4,000 bus bars at medium level, medium voltage level. And of course, the monitoring device is fully compliant with EN 61000.4.30 standard. On top, from 2016, Italian distribution system operators have the obligation to inform every year their medium voltage consumers about the number and the characteristics of voltage dips according to the classification that is available in the EN 5160. This is an extension of the obligation that DSOs have for transparency on the quality of service, and of course interruption are already covered by the same obligation. Just to give you an idea, this is the results that we can obtain from the Mona Lisa monitoring system, that is somehow the evolution of the first Queen system that now covers the whole medium voltage network. And you can find here the average number of voltage dips per monitoring point, both in looking only at medium voltage grid origin, or including also the high voltage grid origin. And there is an important line, the red line, that is the immunity curve that we consider as a regulator. So substantially, our attention is below the red curve, and the attention of the single customer must be focused primarily above the red curve. So far, I talked about medium voltage because in the order of chronologically order, this has been our first initiative, but the second initiative has been launched by the regulator also for the TSO, the transmission system operator, that in Italy operates all extra high voltage and high voltage lines. So in 2005, we introduced the requirement for Terna to realize and operate a monitoring system dedicated to their network, their high voltage network. And data are now available again for the all Italian high voltage network. And here you can see the data for the layer 380 to 220 kilovolt, divided by monophase and polyphase voltage dips. The most recent development is rather recent because we launched a let's say a call for high voltage consumers wanting, willing to participate directly in this new regulation. And after a campaign of 2 years for monitoring voltage dips and transient interruptions, and therefore these customers must install and operate a voltage quality monitoring device, of course, compliant with European applicable standards in the connection point. If this customer wants to participate, after a campaign of 2 years, they are protected against voltage dips below the red line with specific standards. So not more than 1 micro interruption. This is not a technical word, but it means either a transit interruption that is the duration up to 1 second, meaning not a short, but less than a short interruption, or a voltage dip. And the standard is 1 micro interruption per year when the customer is connected at 220 kilovolt, and maximum 2 micro interruption per year when the customer is connected at 130, 150 kilovolt. And in case of a higher number of micro interruption, either transient interruption or voltage dips in a year, these specific consumers are protected by an individual compensation. I suppose this is the only case in Europe in the regulatory framework to introduce such a compensation for voltage dips so far. Of course, only in transit interruption of Turner responsibility are under the standard, so are excluded dips related to force majeure or to emergency phase of the system, and only voltage dips under the red immunity curve are included in the standards. This is very, very recent. The decision has been taken end of 2020, and we are now calling for other customers willing to participate. I have to say that regretfully, only very few, very limited number of customers showed interest in such an individual regulation. This was a problem for us, so we say that we are happy to continue with such a regulation, individual regulation, with, I repeat, compensation in case of violation of the thresholds. But we want that a higher number, at least we said 5% of the total high voltage customers is interested. Otherwise, it seems to be really a niche need, and therefore maybe the regulator shouldn't be involved in such a niche case. However, this is the coronation of a long, very long path started in 2005-06 with the first Senelec engagement with the regulators. So we are very happy to be here, and we hope that further high voltage consumer can be interested in such a very specific regulatory scheme of protection against the voltage dips. I only conclude that low voltage, of course, is also an issue, not for voltage dips, but for so-called slow supply voltage variations. Italy is a country where smart meters for electricity are totally rolled out. And in the first generation, this data refer to a campaign with 4,000 smart meters. And the analysis was realized by the Politecnico di Milano in 2010, so during the first generation. And we see that around the 2% of non-compliance was distributed in all kind of zones, urban, suburban, and rural, contrarily to what you can think. But I must say that the first generation was not fully compliant with 61 series. And therefore, we are now looking at the second generation of smart meters that is going to be rolled out in Italy. Around 45% of final customers in low voltage are now equipped with a second generation smart meter. And this is important because the second generation smart meter is fully compliant with the European technical standards. I suppose that this is enough for today. Of course, I'm ready to answer to any questions. Here you can find in Italian our regulation. This decision is 524 of 2020. It's about high voltage standard, the new standards applicable, and also the call for further consumers at high voltage level interested in the individual protection against the excessive number of voltage dips. And here instead you see the decision about medium voltage and low voltage, especially articles 60 to 72 in the annex to this decision 566 of 2019. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Dr. Lo Schiavo, for your very interesting presentation about the Italian experience on regulation about voltage dips. I have a little question for you. I understand that voltage dips and interruptions are the most important power quality phenomenon, and maybe the phenomenon with the most evident effect.
Exactly, but there are many others, of course.
Yeah, so
we know.
Exactly. So, in your opinion, is there any spaces to consider also other phenomena by the regulation point of view?
By the regulation point of view, I'm not ready to say yes in this moment. But the issue about harmonics, especially in my view, are extremely relevant. But I think that the regulators, at least for now, aren't in the best position to cope with such a problem. This is much more a problem of manufacturers of the electrical devices, and therefore we think that not regulation but technical standardization is the right place in order to avoid, let's say, not desirable effect of digitalization on the electricity systems. Of course, the problem is big, but regulation looks much more at consumers than to technology of electric appliances, devices, and what else. There is also, of course, a big interaction with other sectors, especially telecommunication. Just to say, for instance, that we as a regulator introduced the new rule because for smart metering, because we have seen that prosumers, that is final customer that have typically a PV rooftop, and therefore they have an inverter close to the connection point, they suffered especially with this first generation of smart meters, they suffered, let's say, dysfunctions in the communication between the meter and the concentrator that still uses the electrical line through power or PLC, power line carrier. Yeah. And therefore the second generation, according to a regulatory requirement, the second generation of Italian smart meters must be compliant with a new requirement to have a so-called backup communication line via radio, not via PLC, in order to avoid cases of interference. But regulation, I mean, is not the best way to go with such technical and many widespread problems. The best point for me is Senelec, ESC, in Italy is CEI. All the standardizing bodies can make a very good job, and I want also to thank all people working in these electrotechnical standardization bodies. We had, I say, the cooperation with European level, but also we, as Italian regulator, have a big cooperation with the Italian standardization body for many other issues. I mean, for instance, recharge of electric vehicles, or even very important, the communication protocol between the new meters and interoperable in-home devices. This is a very great improvement in smart metering, because allows the customer to know instantaneously the level of consumption and the level of capacity used. That is even much more important, especially in Italy, where we have limitation of maximum capacity. So there are many things that regulators can do together with standardization bodies, and I feel that especially harmonics are really a point that shall be put on the table for an industry consensus, together also with telecommunication operators, in order to avoid a disaster in the long run.
Thanks a lot for very clear answer, and obviously we would be very proud to give input to ARERA and to strictly collaborate in the standardization framework together with you and your team. Thanks again for being here and for your presentation.
Thank you.
So we can continue with the presentations. Now we have the presentation from Christian Mester from Metas. Christian, please, you can present.
Thank you. So I took the liberty of slightly changing the title, because I think it's also interesting to see the context in which we are doing this calibration work. So I will show you a short overview. I think I should have finished half an hour ago, so I'll speed up as much as I can, about the Electrical Energy and Power Lab at Metas. So we are a National Institute of Metrology, so we are having the national measuring base at the top of the pyramid, but this depends a bit on the country. So in Switzerland, we have also responsibilities in legal metrology, which is the red part, verification, state-controlled verification. And in the green part, where it's a private sector calibration useful for research and industry. So how does it work? Most of you probably know, but just for those who don't, the traceability is a very important feature of metrology, because it allows all the measurements, even the simple electricity household meter, to be traced back to the definition of the units we are using. Because when we say kilowatt hours, we should mean kilowatt hours and nothing else. And for this, we have some sophisticated experiments that ultimately go back to quantum effects. And then we assure the traceability along the chain to industry through verification labs and to the meters. We at Metas also do phasor measurement units. Those are instruments that measure the phase of the 3 phases voltage, 3 phases current, with respect to UTC. So you can compare the phase at a given point with the phase 100 kilometers apart, or at the other end of the continent if you need to. For this, we built a system ourselves using custom commercial components as much as possible, but there are limits to everything. So this is what it looks like. And then we have a lot of certification for power quality analysis, because instrument manufacturers say our instruments are good. Okay, very good, very well. This is the first step, but there's another value for the customers of these manufacturers, so those who buy the instruments, to know that they have been checked independently. And this check is called certification, and we do this at Metas. So power quality is about everything which is not a sine wave, and it's getting worse and worse, as you all know. And the certification tests are very lengthy. I think there are about 100 tests. So as everybody knows who has written a letter at least once in their lifetime, when you write something yourself, when you do something yourself, you don't see your own mistakes. And when you have to do 100 tests, it is very useful and very valuable to have an independent pair of eyes having a look. And I can tell you, we have had very good manufacturers, and everybody had at least one minor problem that they were happy to fix, but it's the independent view that helps. So we are active in the standardization committees. You've seen the IEC 61000-4-30 a couple of times today. And there are these two other standards defining the tests for them. And there will be yet another standard. I think it's going to be a technical report explaining to the calibration and test labs how to test these instruments, every single one of them, that are going to be used, say, every year or every 2 years. And I'm leading this task force. So we are a member in the TC 85, dealing with the latter two standards, and also PMDs, and also in the IEC subcommittee 77A, in charge of the 61000-4-30. But spending a lot of time there, I still have to admit it's rather useless at 100 volt 5 amperes. You can use it at home, but well, okay, it's nice, but limited. And if you use it with an IT that is not characterized, well, you get numbers and they look nice, but they are meaningless. So you need to do something, and this is why this project is so important. So in the transformer domain, we are traditionally active in calibration certification and also in activities in legal metrology. For transformers with the analog output, 16.7 Hertz, the standard railway frequency here in Switzerland, 50 Hertz, 60 Hertz, up to 6 kiloamperes, 110 kilovolts. We are also active, and this is, well, we've been active for a couple of years only, with digital ITs, so ITs with digital output and SAMUs, as we have just seen, the -13 and the IEC 61850-9-2 protocol. And we want to extend this to cover power quality phenomena for the reason I just said. Otherwise, all these power quality measurements are meaningless. And so we are also active in the IEC TC38 instrument transformers. There were 3 working groups just listed here. And, 2 of them we've already heard something about, so I'm not going into the details. And I was very quick, so if you have questions, I'm happy to answer, but otherwise probably Mario is happy to get a bit closer to the schedule.
Thanks a lot, Christian, and thanks also for being very short, because we are quite late on the time schedule. However, if there are any questions for Christian, we can have one short question.
So the slides, I'm happy to share them.
Thanks a
lot. You can always contact me, of course, later on if you have a question later.
Okay, so I think we can move on to the presentation by Andrea Nalli from GNW Altea, Italy.
Hi.
Please, Andrea.
Okay, I'm sharing the screen. Okay. You should see my presentation. Also, I will be very quick as we are quite late. So no time for the agenda, but it will be quite short presentation. First of all, an overview of GNW Electric. GNW Electric is a private-owned multinational company. It has several locations around the world. Its main site is in the United States, and they are very involved in they are manufacturer of solid-state reclosers, switch gears, and they provide also some power grid automation solution. Regarding JNW Altia, JNW Altia was founded in 2008. It was acquired by JNW Electric more or less 2 years ago. We are quite small, and we are a manufacturer of low-power instrument transformer for indoor and outdoor application, and we are located in Italy, in Ferrara. So our product portfolio can go from standalone low-power instrument transformer to embedded low-power instrument transformers. So we embed voltage and current sensing in already existing medium voltage equipment. Our technology is for the voltage sensor capacitive divider and for the current sensor ergoscopic coil. Mostly, let's say, we use this technology, but we also investigate on other technology. But for our standard product, this is the main technologies. So I will show you some use cases. These, for example, there are some low power voltage transformer. Our main strength, let's say, the main strength of this technology is they are very accurate, and they do not suffer from magnetization, and they have a very linear response. So we are accurate through all the medium voltage spectrum. So you can see below the energization response of our sensor compared to measurement transformer, measurement voltage transformer, and you can see we do not suffer of saturation. So we have a very good representation of this transient. Regarding high frequency, normally we have a bandwidth above 20 kilohertz, both for low power current transformer and low power voltage transformer. So our sensors are used for power quality metering. For example, we use this in a project in Dubai to measure the total harmonic distortion present on the network. This was because the distributor wanted to investigate these, let's say, harmonic content generated by the solar farm. And also, this for, say, special application, we manufacture also very high frequency, low power voltage transformer. We can go up to 5 megahertz. We have both for indoor and outdoor, and these are mainly for fault location systems. So I will say LPT verification. So how do we verify this? How do we characterize this low power instrument transformer? In-house, we do some frequency sweep. So we impose a frequency component. It could be voltage or current. We measure it with a reference that should be that have a bandwidth wide enough, and we compare to this measurement our sensor. But also in external laboratory, we impose a high voltage or current signal, and we add to it some harmonics. Like, say, for example, on the left, we've imposed 10 kV at 60 Hz, più a small at 30 kilohertz harmonic. And also in some preliminary analysis, we found out that the results are quite comparable. And then, so now, speaking about instrument transformer for power quality metering, the performance are something that mostly we discuss between us and the customer. So there is not a reference or something that well defined. And also this personal verification is in self-built measurement system, also not defined in any standard. why we are interested in this project is because we are quite interested. It's quite important for us that we are able to define some accuracy and certainty limits for LPETs in power quality measurement. So we don't have to discuss every time with the customer if they can accept that or which kind of test do they want. And also a defined reference measurement system and the procedure for LPETs, because also here we have done some investigation, let's say, comparing one type of characterization to another type of characterization, but it is something, let's say, internal, and we would like to have more confidence on it. So here it is. So if there are any questions.
Thanks a lot, Andrea. We have time just for one short question. I have just a short question. Since you produce low power instrument transformer, and since we need low power instrument transformers also to test if the techniques that we are developing inside the project are useful or not, are you able to give us some devices to perform some tests eventually, and to maybe
Yes.
to compare also, to have a sort of traveling standard?
Yes, we can give to any partner some samples to compare the result and make some tests.
Thanks a lot. It will be sure very useful also for the outcomes of the project. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, we have now the presentation from Stergios, from Zimmer.
Hello again. I will also try to be as brief as possible. Let me share my screen. Okay, now I can do it. Can you see my presentation?
Yes, we can see.
Okay. So, yes, first of all, please forgive me if my presentation is not too technical. I will present to you our development activities and areas of involvement through our products. So, mainly from the perspective of an application engineer, as I am, rather than a researcher. First of all, thank you for giving us the opportunity to contribute as stakeholders in this project. Please let me present your company, Zimmer. We are a German company based in the city of Oberursel. For the past 40 years, we have been developing, manufacturing, and distributing instruments for precision power analysis. We are a small to medium-sized company composed of around 60 employees, but still are one of the global leaders in the field of power analysis, where almost the entirety of our R&D potential is focused on. Our products find application on several industry sectors. Typical applications usually include the study and development of electrical drive systems, power electronics, batteries and chargers, transformers, motors, the study of ferrite losses on magnetic cores, lighting technology, and conformity tests for electromagnetic compatibility or CE certification. Our products, our main product is the LMG power analyzer, which have been developing since the company's earliest stages, starting from the first digital power analyzer and We progressed multiple channel configurations, constantly improve the measurement accuracy, advancing our data processing techniques and the user interfaces, and always observing and keeping up with the needs of the market. The power analyzers, among other features, have the ability to perform transient measurements, are programmable, and can communicate with external interfaces like LabVIEW, for example. Our latest series of power analyzers consists of the LMG601 models. It comes as single 4 and 7 channel variants. At the same time, we support our power analyzers either by developing or reselling current and voltage sensors in order to expand the instrument's measuring ranges and its fields of application. So in the area of voltage sensors, we have the HST voltage dividers, which we develop and manufacture here. There are single, 2 and 3 channel variants in different ranges up to 16.8 kilovolts and a quite wide bandwidth. When it comes to current sensors, we provide several types, from very precise and broadband models like the PCT and DS series, to Hall sensors, current clubs, and measurement shunts. Even if most of the zones of the displayed sensors are not developed by us, we deliver them with modifications so that they are in most cases directly compatible with the power analyzer. This is what we mean with the plugger measure on this table, which means basically that most of the sensors will be able to be supplied through the LMG, through the power analyzer without external supply, and the power analyzer will also be able to recognize them directly and apply the correct scaling. So they are basically they are connected to the power analyzer using just one cable. Finally, we provide solutions in EMC and CE conformity testing by combining our power analyzers with our testing software and peripherals, such as single or three-phase network impedances that we also develop. The conformity tests that we support are for harmonics, flicker, and low power modes according to the standards that are listed here. And when it comes to power quality, the power analyzer can deliver the required parameters, or most of them at least. And yeah, that would roughly sum up the main activities of Zesimer. We hope that we can prove useful to you during this project, and we look forward to assisting you the best way we can. We would be, of course, glad and to provide you with equipment for your testing. We are actually hoping that you will ask us for that, because we have also been supporting other research projects, and that will be all from my part. Thank you for your attention, and would be happy to answer any questions.
Thanks a lot, Stergios. Please be sure that we will remember your promise, and we will ask you equipment for our project.
That's great.
Thanks.
I remember that. Thank you.
Okay, finally, we have the last presentation of this workshop from Mark Achterkamp from Kema Labs. Please, Mark, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you very much. Well, first of all, thank you for the opportunity, and thanks everybody for still being online. It has been a long afternoon, and I try to keep it short so that we can go for our dinners or the evening, what we wanted to do. So first, let me try to share my presentation. maybe you can confirm that you can see it.
Not yet, but something is moving.
Then
okay.
I
now
think you should be able now. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Good. So, well, first, let me give a short introduction of Kima Labs for those who don't know us and what has happened the last couple of years. And then I want to move a little bit into the developments we are seeing, especially when it comes to instrument transformers, including power quality requirements, and how we respond to that in our laboratories, what we are doing. So looking to Kima, founded in 1927, we have been part of another company for a while, but since beginning of last year, we now are part of the Chasey group, and that gives us a lot of laboratories within our group where we can work and do our testing. So in Italy, of course, in Milan, but also in Arnhem, in Chalfont, US, in Prague. So we have multiple laboratories all over the world. So what are we testing in our laboratories? Well, as already mentioned by one of the other speakers, the importance of independent testing. Well, Kima, of course, and also Chasey from the past, we are global leaders in independent testing, inspection, and certification for the electricity sector. And for doing so, we have different types of laboratories. Mentioning here, I think, well, the 2 or 3 most important ones, the well-known ones. So we have big high power and high voltage testing facilities where we do type testing of switchgear, reclosers, power transformers, cables. Of course, also instrument transformers. For that reason, I make it blue because I think that's important for the topic we discussed today. But next to that, we also have laboratories who are doing testing of what we call nowadays smart devices. And that can be energy meters that are protection relays. We are stepping into business like SAMUS. And I also mention EPU. It's not really much use maybe, but we call it an electronic processing unit. And that in combination with instrument transformers give you the new generation, the low power instrument transformers. And that more or less covers what you can see in the picture on this slide, that all kind of components from primary to secondary are part of the testing we try to capture, to cover in our Kima laboratories. I will focus a little bit on instrument transformers, otherwise I could give a presentation of all day, and well, I'm a little bit shorter to 5 to 10 minutes, so let me try to do that. So what are our current activities up to now? We did, of course, a lot of testing, type testing of conventional instrument transformers, according to nowadays the 61869 series of standards. We have seen them coming by before. And that includes all the different testing that I mentioned in those standards as partly listed in the table below. They don't cover everything, but it's almost there. And of course, a very important one here is the test for accuracy. And the other tests are a lot of influence testing, isolation type of testing we do on this kind of products. And test for accuracy then also includes, of course, the accuracy from high voltage, high current. But when it comes to current transformers, we also speak about the transient error and the combined error, composite error for instrument transformers for current. Looking to well, what are we heading at? Future activities where we are focusing on right now is type testing of what we call nowadays new technology. We cannot speak about conventional or non-conventional anymore because the non-conventionals of today will be the conventionals of tomorrow. So we rather speak about new technology instrument transformers. Of course, according to the standards, they have to be submitted to the same bundle of tests, and I try to highlight a couple of items well, that might be new for this new type of technologies, because for the classical ones, we can say that well, EMC testing and all that kind of testing is normally not involved. But when we now look to the new low power instrument transformers, for instance, then of course there is an electronic part, so we also need to consider the electromagnetic compatibility of the complete solution. And that also means that looking to accuracy, we have to look to a complete different approach. Where accuracy in the past was measured purely based on analog values, we now have to do it on digital values. And there then also a timing aspect comes into the picture. So what we did at the KIMA laboratories, the high voltage, high power and smart device laboratories, that we are implementing for us the 61850 network. We have implemented a timing network so that we at least can cope and cover with this kind of aspects, the PPS, the PTP type of time synchronization. Maybe you can also imagine that, well, when speaking about mechanical testing, climatic testing, or transmitted overvoltage measurements, yeah, you cannot do that simply in the traditional way anymore, because again, we are moving from analog to digital, and that also requires for this kind of testing complete new approaches. Some highlights there then, of course, and that connects to, I think, this project. What are happy to look at, already mentioned, there will be a change in measuring and testing methods for the existing tests, because these standards, especially DES1, will remain in place. But we see already for low power instrument transformers the DES6, which is already in place, giving us requirements for frequency per response for the accuracy, but also transient performance, a couple of items already discussed before. And of course, we know, and also this one is already highlighted, that there is a standard dealing with power quality measurements. And we also realize that power quality for the near future will become more and more important if you look to the energy transition and everything coming together with that. So as a last, what are our interests, our needs, our expectations from this project? Well, of course, we have to start thinking about the generation of power quality signals for testing and measuring of the instrument transformers up to medium voltage levels. And of course, we are also very interested to take that further at the end and to go really to the higher voltage levels. Well, for doing that, of course, we also need to have reference VTs and CTs for measuring back those generated power quality signals. We need a measurement system for doing so. And what have been, I think, the red line through all the discussions, that as an independent testing laboratory at the end, we need to cope with traceability, our accreditations, and that is something that we like to explore as part of this project. Well, as promised, I want to keep it short, so that was my last slide. If there are any questions, well, please, you can ask them, and otherwise my contact details are there. My presentation can be shared so that people can contact me whenever needed.
Thanks a lot, Mark, and thanks especially for having highlighted the needs from and the expectations from this project. So sure, we will work on your expectation, and as soon as they are available, we will share with you our outcomes and our findings.
Thank you. And of course, as a stakeholder now, we have asked by VSL to join in, so we will do. And together with them, of course, we will determine and see how we can collaborate from our laboratory, maybe by giving some testing space or some instruments or some knowledge we have. But that are things that need to be discussed further on.
Great. Thanks. Thanks a
Welcome.
lot.
Okay.
Okay, so it is 6 o'clock almost, so we are about half an hour late on the time schedule. So I think there is space just for the final comments. Gabriella, would you like to say something?
Yes, I would like to, of course, again, thanks all the speakers. And there are some quite interesting hints from all the the presentation and some of the questions that were raised. With respect to the last presentation from Kima, I was thinking that yes, this project is dealing with distribution voltages and medium voltages only, and because we have a limited amount of effort to be put on a project, and but of course there is the same kind of approach shall be used also in when we deal for the situation of power quality for high voltage, and some kind of solution from this point of view may be different. Because the problem are different if you are measuring at medium voltage and high voltage, I think. But I think there's we can get some experience from this project at medium voltages, and then try to reflect in and modify it in order to face problem on the high voltage side. This is just the first part of the work, let me say.
Yeah, okay, thanks. Mark, would you like to say something?
Yeah, well, I fully agree, of course, with what Gabriele was saying, and I also consider this as a nice step to start with, and to explore and to see, yeah, maybe if we can use some of the data, and I think we can, of course, to use it for the high voltage levels as well. But further investigation might and will also be needed on that part. Fully agree.
Okay, so other comments, questions?
If I just can say something,
yeah,
I would like to thank all of the presenters for the very interesting presentations, and I particular Paolo and Lorenzo. I think it also may be interesting that you formally schedule some presentations of the results which are, let's say, relevant for your respective working groups in the working group meetings, in one of the working group meetings to come. That's all I wanted to say.
Okay, thanks. Thanks a lot, Volker. Other comments? Other questions? Okay, so I think that it is time to close the meeting, and it is time also to thanks again all of you for being here and to contributed to the success of this workshop. I think that all the presentation were very interesting, and we hope to repeat the stakeholder workshop in the middle of the project with more results and more collaborations with the stakeholders. Thanks again, and best regards to everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Mario.
Thank you. Have a nice evening.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very
Nice
much,
Goodbye.
Mario and everyone.
Thank you to all.
Bye.
And Mario,
Thank you.
thank you to all.
Goodbye.